The world is changing at breathtaking speeds, with trends and fads popping up and passing away at breakneck pace. Against that backdrop of nearly constant upheaval, we welcome you to the Sunday Scotch Society. Over delectable, sumptuous scotches and with the occasional good cigar in hand, we have open, honest, and uninhibited conversation about whatever strikes our fancy. Whether it's the critical issue of the day or a deep dive down the rabbit hole, we take it all seriously while having a good time. Join us for a stiff drink and a great conversation. Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunday Scotch Society. It is I, your intrepid host, Quincy Parker. I am joined by my also intrepid partner in crime and rhyme and all manner of beautiful things, the great Matthew Kelly.
Hello. How are you today?
Oh, we're doing accents today. Well, in that case, I'm wonderfully well, thank you, Matthew.
Okay.
And yourself?
Not bad.
Excellent. No more accents, I understand. Today, we are excited. We have two incredibly wonderful features for today's show. The first is our guest, the superstar entrepreneur of Keep It Salty, and a marine engineer, a creative soul, an artist, a person with blue hair and multicolored fingernails, a brain clearly the size of China, and we're excited to talk to her today. Juliana Roll, welcome to the Sunday Scotch Society.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Well, you say that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, right? Yeah. The next special guest or special feature of today's show is for those tipplers and dipsomaniacs who like single malt scotches. The Glenmorangie 10-year-old is kind of, the standard Highlands Scotch. It's one of the more popular Glens. Of course, there's the Glenlivet and the Glenfiddich, but the Glenmorangie is something that your aficionado, so to speak, would request rather than the other Glens. Although the Glenfiddich 12-year-old is still probably my third favorite Scotch of all time. So today we are going to share with Juliana this beautiful Glenmorangie aged 10 years. It's you smell the nose. You smell it. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So that's
Already, wow.
Yeah.
I think this is going to run into the evening.
Quite cool. So yes, obviously my pour was a little heavy just now, but nonetheless, here we go. So, yes, and as usual, we begin. Matthew, what are you getting on the nose? What are you smelling? What is your nose telling you?
We're actually getting a bit of a fruitiness, which is really surprising me. It's about all that I can say at the moment.
Okay, there you go.
We'll wait until the taste.
Yes.
Yeah, to top on that, it has a bit of a citrus almost, like a citrus smell.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With a hint of vanilla almost, but we'll see.
Okay, all right. I co-sign the noses of both of you. I think are quite accurate. My only addition to that would be on like the third inhalation, I get a little bit of black pepper at the back of my nose.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But that might be because I smoke cigars, so my palate is a little more attuned to that particular flavor.
Now that you put it in my head,
Yeah.
there's something there.
All right, let us go ahead and take our first sip of the day.
Let it sit.
Okay. Now, Juliana, you're the guest. You begin. What have you discovered with your first sip of the Glenmorangie, the original, the 10-year-old single malt?
I mean, honestly, on that first sip, it was like everything that I went through today just kind of sunk in. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing.
Okay.
But it hit, and I was like, ooh. So I just let it marinate. But it is almost kind of heavy, but light at the same time. I can't explain it. It has I don't know if musk is the right word, but a certain shadowness to it. But it's also light and refreshing at the same time, if that makes sense.
Okay. So it's got a musk, a certain shadowness.
Yeah, shadowy.
Okay. Matthew?
It's actually continuing to evolve. Not until at least half a minute did I start to taste a slight nuttiness just on the side of my tongue. The fruitiness persists. It reminds me of certain dry whites. But there is a slight smokiness that I'm picking up. Yeah. So as I learn these whiskeys, I don't know how spoiled I am by your choices. So you know, I don't. Yeah, we'll see how my language evolves over the next few episodes.
I mean, and they can't listen. The thing is, they cannot all be magnificent, right?
I didn't say it wasn't magnificent.
No. I don't need this. Like I say, this one is one of my favorites, so I like it. But with regard to the choices that I've made and presented so far, eventually I have to run into a bad one, or at least one that we don't like as much. Yeah. But thankfully so far, no.
Yeah, this is good.
But what I like about this is it's like it's not unique. It's not a distinctive flavor. It is like the best expression of a class of flavors. Right? This is what Highland single malt scotches taste like. And this is the best, in my view, of that kind of taste. It has the mellow warmth to it. It has maybe a little butter, maybe a little coconut, a little vanilla, maybe, and then of course there's the pepper and obviously the alcohol, because I don't want to give the impression that this is a light drink. This is a sipping scotch, right? But it is, and all of those things are incredibly subtle, and you have to be looking for them to taste them. But with all of that said, it's still, it's a great. I love this. I love this scotch. I was excited to have this during our conversation with you, Juliana. Your profession is a scientific, technical, very serious profession. I don't know that I would call it a profession that is fraught with creativity.
No.
Right? So it. I guess we're kind of edging sideways into talking about what it is for you to be a marine engineer. And how did that come about, number one, and how has it been to be that professionally while also being the creative woman with blue hair and multicolored fingernails and an anchor on a chain around her neck, it's
Propeller,
excuse me. Let me get my stuff right.
Yes. Well, to start, I was in Bahamas Maritime Cadet Corporation in high school. And before that, I was actually in Teachers Cadet because I wanted to become a teacher. But in my last, maybe grade 11, a friend of mine said, hey, there's this Maritime Cadet program, let's check it out. I went. In the first class, they introduced navigation and engineering. And they mentioned you get to travel, you're away from home, and you make money. So I then had to decide, do I want to learn to drive boats or fix them? And I thought engineering is the way to go, because eventually when I don't want to sail anymore, I could then transfer the skill into a land-based job. So I went the engineering route. And during that process, even through the school and having the shipboard experience, it was very serious, very black and white. I wasn't colorful then. I needed to be taken seriously, so it was more in the sense of, okay, what can I learn? How can I prove that I want to be in this field, that I want to learn, I want to expand, I want to be a chief engineer on a boat, and people take me seriously in this profession. So there was no form of expression in terms of the color. That really came about. I mean, I did experiment with my hair in my early 20s, like changing the color, and that was fun. But that lasted maybe a year or two, and then I went back to being black and white.
Yeah, I don't want to get. I mean, I mentioned the hair and the nails only as a sign of what I think is you view yourself as a creative person, and I noticed that when you were presented with a choice, navigation or engineering, the way you describe it, it seems that it was clear the ability to travel was one of the deciding factors.
Yeah, that was the easy one for me. It's like, yeah. Oh my God.
And you have been on boats around the world, working in engine rooms. Still, tell us about some of the places that you've been.
I've been to Denmark, I've been to Ireland, I've been to Sweden, Scotland, I've been to New Amsterdam, Rotterdam, I've been to Africa, the northern part of Africa, Algeria. I've been to Ivory Coast, that is the western part of Africa. I've done a lot of the South American countries, Chile, Ecuador, Brazil. I haven't been to Argentina, but there's another one. I've been to Mexico, I've been to Panama and also through the Panama Canal. I've done a lot of France, south of France. I've done south of Spain. I've done Gibraltar, well, that's a part of Spain as well. The only thing or continent I haven't done, Antarctica, of course, and then Asia. Well, actually, I did spend some time in Saipan. That is an island further, maybe south or north, if I'm not mistaken, from Guam. Not too far, maybe an hour flight from Guam. I spent 3 months there working on a yacht. That was fun.
So clearly, your desire to travel has become the lifestyle. It was a dream fulfilled, let's say.
Yeah.
I will ask one last question before I let Matthew chime in on this. But what has all that traveling taught you?
That there's more to life than just here. And also, to be happy with what you do have. I would say that's the most important thing for me, because I've met people in Brazil, especially, they're in a hut, literally, and they're the most happiest people. They're willing to give you whatever little they have, and there's so much joy and so much expression, and it's like, this is life, like this is real life. So I enjoyed that. So just appreciation and gratitude.
Yes, so clearly the there's more to life message was delivered. I hear you, but I guess I really want to drill down on what going out to the world yourself, what did that mean to you as Juliana Rowe?
I think, when I think about it, it's more these people that I've met, they have very little. And us here in the Bahamas, a lot of us complain about menial things that we have the power of changing ourselves. A lot of people would say things like, oh, the government, I'm not getting political, but just simple stuff like, oh, the government doesn't want to fix the road, or they don't want to fix my house. But you're responsible for fixing your house. Like, the things you can change, why not change it? Why are you waiting for someone to come and change it? When I travel, these people don't have anyone that they can depend on, but they're making it with what little they have. So that's where the appreciation in it came from me. So I was like, well, I'm going to make the change, and why not? I'm not waiting on anyone.
Fair enough. Before Matthew chimes in, I want to point out that this Scotch is still doing beautiful things. Now that we've had a few minutes to let it percolate, let it sit in our systems, how are we feeling about it? What are our thoughts here?
It's growing on me. I'm tasting almond now. I was thinking of almond butter. It has that flavor.
Okay.
So I'm liking it.
Yeah.
I have to be careful,
No. Listen, we are dipsomaniacs, but we are not inebriates. Right? So we like to drink, but we ain't gonna get you drunk. Or at least, let me rephrase. I won't get you drunk.
Okay.
I can't swear for Matthew. These Kelly people, they sometimes.
The guests of this podcast are adults.
You're right.
And they can do as they please.
Yes.
Within the limits of the law.
Within the limits of the law.
Right. I just finished talking about responsibility, so.
There you go. Got my hint.
Yeah, I agree with you about the almond butter. I think it's a good comparison.
Back up that general nuttiness. You know the flavors that come off of the skins, be it almond or even a peanut, even though it's not a true nut. That sort of burnt.
Who cares if it's not a true nut, Matthew?
That's the word nut.
Did you?
Sorry.
Did you ask me to be on this podcast or not, sir?
I know.
You can always ask me to leave.
I could. God forbid. I would never.
Yeah, there's definitely that the complexity you get from those burnt, cracking out those roasted,
over roasted ones,
popping them out. Yeah,
I could again.
And yet, I'm finally picking up on the vanilla. So,
you guys ever tried the praline? It's a nut. I think it's a walnut, but they have this caramelized candy flavored thing over the nut. It's sugary. I think it's praline walnut or something like that. It's giving me that scent, like when you open the container. It's very sweet and caramelized.
Okay.
That's the scent I'm getting.
yeah.
Hallelujah. That's deep.
Okay, before Quincy dominates the conversation once again, I just want to ride the tail of that last bit of conversation. So you spoke to one side of the experience, and I'm very glad that you put out there this idea of people getting hung up on the wrong things in life, and how people in other parts of the world can remain happy even though they have less than us. So why aren't you happy with your relatively more wealth in this situation, right? Let's look at the other side of that. What else have you seen besides this natural joy that humans can have if they so desire to take it upon themselves to be responsible enough? What have you seen out there on some of these very expensive machines that some of which, not all, some is commercial and some is pleasure. So what have you seen both sides, commercial and pleasure, in terms of the bigger things that are not, that the more to life than hair things that you talked about?
Just technology, the advancement in technology.
Okay.
The way businesses are handled technologically is very different. And it can be as simple as the way the streets are designed. Just transportation, for example, is far more advanced. You have trains that connect. Well, I know you were talking about the yachts. I'll get into that too.
Oh, no. And just anything that you've seen.
Yeah. It's just the...
I want you to finish the point about the trains.
Yeah, it's just you can jump on a train anywhere, any place in Europe, and connect all over Europe.
Yeah.
And it's on schedule. If you miss the train, that's it till the next one comes. And it's very quick and easy. So that's one thing. I actually enjoyed that. I've done that. The other thing in terms of shipping or, yachts, again, technology is simple. I know I was working on a yacht where the owner, his wife, she was paraplegic. And he designed the yacht to suit her needs. And it was very advanced. They had from the gangway, the little, I don't want to call it an escalator, but I guess like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And it helps bring her on board. And then one of the crew members would take her in. But once she gets inside, there's a little elevator going up and down to help her get to the rooms. And of course, she's assisted. But just the thought process behind making sure everything is suited, or most things are suited just for her, I thought that was tremendously amazing. So
to me, I don't know what you pick from that, but immediately my mind goes to design. So you talked about the trains in a inter-city connection kind of way. What else did you see in some of these cities, be it in Europe or over in the New World? Like maybe good and bad.
Food.
Oh.
Definitely. I had a thing everywhere I went. I tried the burgers and the local beer.
Okay.
And
all right. So who has a better beer than Colette?
Ooh. Honestly, it's tough. I enjoyed the beer in Scotland and Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the names, but they were really, really good.
These ales or stouts or?
Ales.
Oh, okay.
Really good. So burger and a beer, that was my thing. And my best burger would have been in Rotterdam.
Do tell.
It was a nice juicy burger, and with bacon, mushrooms, sauteed onions, barbecue sauce, cheese, lettuce, tomato, because I have to have a burger with lettuce and tomato. And oh man, I sat down maybe for an hour and I just enjoyed that meal. It was cold as hell too, but
But
the temperature,
So I don't know if I'm wrong, but as you say that, and my mouth begins to water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'm also thinking that this would not be a bad pairing with a mushroom burger.
You're right.
And by mushroom burger, I mean a burger with a mushroom on it, or mushrooms on it. Not a grilled portobello.
yeah.
No, you're right.
I agree. This definitely, this Scotch would be delicious with a burger, and especially the mushrooms.
Yeah.
It would pick up that earthiness really well.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And pair, I think it'll counter the fruitiness that I'm detecting. So
It's been interesting. It's interesting. Okay, so now when you say food, you're talking my language. So we're gonna park that for a minute.
Yeah.
okay.
And we're gonna come back to the food.
Okay,
thing.
Parker.
Good one.
Fine, whatever. Matthew twiddles his thumbs. Anyway, we're gonna.
This dude called me Chewy last week, so
I did.
all is fair in love and war.
Why?
Ask him why I called him
Why?
Chewy.
Oh.
That's how he responded to me calling him Chewy.
Okay.
That's not why I called him Chewy.
No, that's just me deflecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the story is that 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, somebody who knew him back when, what was that, 10 years ago? 15?
There's rough.
Around there, found a picture of him. And they sent, they sent the picture around. And significantly different than his current.
It's when I used to look good, people. It was verified that night. I'll have you know. There's evidence.
The ladies among the gathering referred to him as a pie, I believe.
No, they didn't refer to me as a pie. They referred to the former me as a pie.
Okay, fair
Let's
enough.
just clarify.
Fair enough. I understand. But at some point that night, one of them who's known him, I guess longer than I have, mentioned that his nickname was Chewy in some circles. So that's where I got it.
Okay.
Because I thought it was a cool nickname, but apparently he hates it. So
Do you hate
I went
it?
back to
I
Matthew.
don't. I
Or
actually.
specific people when he can call you that.
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, not very many people call me that. That was more of a jest, and you picked up on it. It was fine. Only certain family members have called me Chewy. It's fine. I generally actually don't care about my name because as a child, I was always called mistakenly by my brother's name.
Oh.
Not because they couldn't remember the names. It's just that one white boy was there first. So
All
we can just
white
call
boys.
Yeah.
we can just call him that. And so I've grown to just I don't care.
Yeah.
You call me Matthew, call me Stick, call me Chewy, whatever. I don't care. It's not the only drawback to this is that that naturally led to me not caring as much about other people's names because I don't put such an identifier on me. Like I don't adhere to it deeply.
Yeah.
So my mind is not like, oh, you must care about your name that much. And so it's been problematic in terms of remembering people's names right away. Like that.
I get
So,
it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Stick at another.
it's just another example. Like what.
We just call
Don't
you-
latch on to these things.
Not John. I'm just taking note.
For the record, my name is Matthew.
Okay, fair enough. No. Yeah, Juliana, you are also a business person. One of the things that I like about your situation is that you have found a way to be a successful entrepreneur while at the same time also being a successful consulting entrepreneur, right? So this is a brilliant paradigm, and Matthew will love this because he's a business story and business development guru, right? But so in addition to being an incredibly successful marine engineer, Juliana owns a yacht, and she charters out her yacht under the name Keep It Salty Adventures.
Yes, correct.
And so it's a really, so tell us a little bit about Keep It Salty.
Keep It Salty Adventures. Founded in 2018. No, I'm kidding. But it was founded in 2018 by my business partner and I. His idea generally was that he just wanted a boat. And the boat came along, and we both said, well, let's make it a company. And so we did. And the idea was so that the boat could pay for itself while we're off, working on other vessels. And we became heavily involved, but we had to, just started off. 2 years we were here just working it, actually physically on the boat working, doing charters, and also trying to get our name recognized and for people to know us, trying to get bookings, that kind of thing. And in COVID happened, I think in 2020, and then in 2021 we hired crew. Local crew, and that way we were able to be a little bit more flexible in terms of going out to sea, and the company can operate efficiently. So that's how that came about. So
would you say that Keep It Salty Adventures is successful at this point?
I would say so. This year, December, would be 5 years in business, and we're growing. We have another boat coming in, we're trying to get it here before the end of the summer.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to the rest of the year and the new year.
So after 5 years, you are expanding.
Yes.
And obviously you would only do that as a result of the significant increase in demand and your judgment that you are able to successfully deploy a second boat out and whatever else. But does it mean, aside from the business part of it, what does it mean to you on a personal level to be bringing on another boat?
Honestly, I'm excited. My dream is to have a fleet, 5. I want to cover all areas of the market, small, medium, and big. And right now we're starting small. It took us this long too, only because we always reinvest the money back into the company because, boats are expensive and maintenance is an absolute must. And so we did a big refit this year in January. So we spent 3 months, 2.5 months to 3 months in Florida, and we did a complete refit. And now we need to regenerate capital to get back so we can finish off the other boat and get it here. But it's happening.
What have you encountered? Like when you see happy people in Brazil with very little, what are their conceptions of the world? Or is it still small-minded, or do they know that they don't know and they just ask questions, or they have these preconceptions, or is it something else?
Good question.
That's a good question. In my experience, there have been a few people that didn't know where the Bahamas was. A lot of them are like, oh, it's America. And we're like, no, we're close to America, but we're not America. And even in Africa, that was a thing. I remember not arguing, but going back and forth with this guy. Yeah, you're American. I was like, I'm not American, I'm Bahamian. Bahamas? Where is this? And I trying to show him on the map. He's like, no, America. And I zoomed all the way in. I said, you see, Bahamas. Still America. I was like, okay, whatever.
He had a point to make.
Yeah. And in Brazil, there are black people in Brazil, but we went into the Amazon. And it was very, when you think of Amazon, it was very, remember the movie Anaconda with J-Lo and it was very much like that. And, the kids were touching my skin and they were in amazement, like, they were speaking Portuguese, so I couldn't really understand, but it was just this awe. Like, who are you? Where are you from? And I'm saying Bahamas, but no one knows where it is. So I was like, okay. And then when I went to Ecuador, they seemed to know Bahamas, so that was fine. I don't think I saw many black Ecuadorians there either. But, Europe, there's a lot of Africans, so they're used to seeing black people. But in conversation, there were a few, and I said Bahamas, and they knew where it was. So, that's the thing. No one's ever asked me if we still lived in huts, or if we do live in huts, and how we dress.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
But you remember a few years ago, there was this tourist lady that came here, and I think she made up some lie, and she said that people were still living in huts.
I remember.
And it went viral.
Vaguely remember this.
Yeah, it went viral for a bit.
It was.
And this was the advent of CYC.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice bit of history.
Yes. No, I guess as a world traveler, Juliana, you would have come across so many different outlooks, and it's easy to forget how small the Bahamas is, really.
Yeah.
As like I mentioned with the city of Tulsa, which is considered a small town. Well, the population is like a small town population, even though it's a state cap, not even a state capital, but like a really populous city in the state. Their population is twice that the population of that city is more than the population of my entire country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we are, obviously we punch way above our weight, yes.
Some categories.
Yeah, some.
Because okay, you speak of.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
no, go ahead.
You speak of Tulsa, right? So roughly same size as Nassau now, which to me is always like the fact that we have a parliament running this town, which is essentially the Bahamas in terms of population and major development, etc. Right? It's a little bit funny. But I also wonder, how well informed are we in a norm on the rest of the world? So if I speak to either of you, obviously you are very exposed. You know a lot. You've seen a lot of perspectives. But if we grab average Joe off the street, right? Would they have any better framework for their presumptions or their lack of presumptions about the world? Like if we talk to them about Iceland, which is comparable to the Bahamas in a lot of ways, population, etc.
Have you talked to the average Joe in the
That's
street?
what I'm saying. I'm just like I want your opinions.
In my view, the average Joe on the street knows more than I do.
Really?
You think so?
Oh yeah. These
Now,
people.
Could you please
No.
elucidate?
I will.
I want to know which streets you're on.
I like that word.
When I say knows more than I do, I mean that in two separate ways. If I won't name the street, but if I'm on certain streets and in certain places, when I say knows more than I do, I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
Right? The average person on the street thinks that they know everything.
I'm a little thick,
right? And they can
catching up now.
yeah, they can they can expound ad
Oh.
infinitum
Yes.
on everything.
Not just knows more, but knows it. In the words of Miss Swan, everything.
This is a hard one because it's the one that I think everyone expects me to ask. But you are a young black woman in engineering. So you're in a field that's dominated by men, probably by white men, at the level that you're at, certainly. How number one, what is that experience like? And number two, would you encourage young black Bahamian women to pursue a career in marine engineering?
So the first question, my experience, commercial and private, very different. Or yachting, very different. Commercial, I've experienced more racism than anything. I've worked with Filipinos, Indians, Russians, Ukrainians, and I don't want to say my worst, but my most challenging culture would have been the Indians. I've been sexually harassed by a Bangladesh chief engineer. That was very interesting to say the least. He was very aggressive. He said if you wanted to be promoted, you needed to do things. You could kind of imagine what things, yeah? And that one, it took a while for him to get off the ship, but once it was reported to the captain and to the office, it was dealt with. In yachting, surprisingly, I haven't noticed any racism. I don't know if it's done behind my back, but in terms of like the way I experienced it in commercial, I've not experienced it in yachting. I think it's more when people see my CV or when they see me, it's like, oh wow, you're an engineer. And then it's taken seriously. It's not like how if another woman comes on and she's a stew, it might be a little bit less playful, or they'll take it a little, I don't know, it's just a thing. I don't want to call it a chip on my shoulder, but it's serious. You know, people like, oh yeah, we're not gonna mess with her. So that's more of the notion I get in yachting.
And in terms of whether you would encourage other young Black Bahamian women to pursue this?
Absolutely, 100%. I would tell, well, male or female, I would encourage anybody, but specifically with females, the only thing I would want for them to do is to take it seriously. Don't be a crybaby. If you need to go and cry, go in your room. Of course, don't be aggressive. Learn to be very tactful in the way that you, and respectful in the way that you deal with situations, especially with men. But it's doable. It's very doable.
That's actually a question that I've had, because reality says personalities will always clash. You know, you got to bite your tongue a lot.
Yeah.
In especially in closed quarters.
Yeah.
Where you are stuck in a particular community for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
What do you find works for keeping your equanimity in that kind of a scenario?
Working out. Honestly, for me, it's music. I love music. So I put in my headphones, maybe dance in my cabin, because sometimes I'm able to have my own cabin. And if I'm not able to, I just put in my headphones, go. If there's not a full gym on board, there's gym equipment. So you can set it up on the sun deck and just work out. Once we don't have gas on board, that's fine. And so that's what I do. But it's not a glamorous work. You have your moments where it's nice. You feel like, yes, I accomplished something, but when, can you curse on the podcast?
Please do.
When shit hits the fan, you're in it. You're in the paint. You're in the oil. You're in the grease. Is everything. You got to bring out the big guns. And that's when it's serious. And it's usually the odd hours that things go wrong. It's never in the daytime where, we're going to work from 8 to 5 and then it's done. Normally, it's just enough to get us to shore or alongside. Once we're alongside, we're working through the night to try and solve a problem. So you just never know. But that part, once it's done, it's amazing. You feel like, yes, I did this. I fixed this. Yes. Everyone's happy now. Leave me alone. You know. So I enjoy that.
I guess it's like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. That sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
In terms of the bigger the problem. Yeah. You know. But that's cool. What about the other aspect of things in terms of, before we move to the yacht ownership, I want to ask how you would prepare anyone from the Bahamas especially to deal with the racism that you've dealt with, to deal with the prejudices that are not to do with race, right? The assumption that you don't know as much as I do because you're black, or because you're from the Bahamas, or because you're a woman, or because for whatever reason you don't know as you're younger than I am, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you think that? How do we prepare people for that kind of an environment? Because that's not an academic preparation.
Yeah, no.
You know?
You learn that on the job. I would say, first of all, don't take it personal. I know that sounds ironic to say, but just think of it in terms of these people, the way their culture is set up. It's not usual to see women in these types of fields. And so there's that. So you can't take that personally. The second thing would be, don't retaliate in an aggressive way, because you will always be the problem. Regardless of what happened, you will always be the problem. So just be respectful. In shipping, there is chain of command. And if, for example, me as a third engineer, the person I would report to in my department would be the chief engineer. If he's the problem, I then have to report to the captain. If the captain isn't doing anything about it, I then report to the company. If the company isn't going to do anything about it, then I report to the flag state. And then everyone's involved at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it is. If it gets really bad, you don't ever want it to get there. But if no one on board is doing anything about it, then you'll need to go an additional step.
So I guess knowing the chain of command is important too.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And always.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes having to just respect the chain of command.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last sort of area of questions that I have, I don't know what Matthew has, in terms of your experience being a yacht owner and with Keep It Salty being a business in the marine, I guess I call it the marine leisure sector, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, pleasure. I guess,
Pleasure. Yeah, the pleasure sector, right? Ooh, the pleasure sector. the pleasure sector. But you're young. You and your partner are young and black, and I don't want to make everything about race, but I can't help but be curious.
Yeah.
What that experience has been like. But is this why you're so quiet? Because I'm making things about black and white?
No.
Okay, just curious.
It was a valid question.
I'm just
I've been alive in my house for a little while.
I'm just messing with Matthew, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of times people don't know that we own the company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always funny when we tell them. They just think we're crew, which is fine with me. The only thing I've realized when we were running charters and eventually people found out that we were the owners, they didn't tip.
Oh my God.
Because everyone assumes, okay, if I'm paying this amount to be on your boat, this money's going directly to you. But this is the company's money. I'm getting a salary for actually doing this charter. That's it. But everything else goes to the company. That is for dockage. That is for insurance. That is for repairs. That is what that is. So, we just kind of just let it be. But I know when we are in the States getting work done, it's different when you say we're the owners of the boat. Because everyone's like, oh, well, whoever's doing the job or whoever, tell the owner this is going to happen if we do it like this, especially with contractors. And then we just smile and say, well, we are the owners, and I'm telling you, this is what I want done. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So, it's a shock factor, but I find it hilarious, honestly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question that everyone wants to ask. How do you get a yacht?
How do you get a yacht? That's a good question. Honestly, being in the right place at the right time.
Okay. So were you guys in the fortunate position of being able to move with your own capital, or did you have to involve debt, or did you have to involve equity partners? Like, how did it fall out for you? I don't want you to go into any details that you're not comfortable with, but like, people want to know.
Yeah.
How do you accomplish this? Because it seems so out of reach that could ever be done.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. Like I say, it's being in the right place at the right time. My partner was in Virginia. He was working on a yacht as a mate, and the marina they were in. He walked and he saw this one boat, this one yacht sitting. It looked it was in terrible condition, growth. It looked like it had been there for years. And he spoke to the dockmaster and said, "Hey, is this boat for sale? I want to purchase it." So the dockmaster told him, you can try. I'll give you his number. You can try, but a lot of people have been asking, and he never bite the offer. So he said, "Okay, I'll give it a try." He called the guy. They had an hour-long conversation. Maybe the guy liked his personality. He gave him a number, and he said, "Yeah, I'll buy it for that price." But how we generated the money was through working on yachts.
Okay. So you saved up.
Saved up. Yeah.
Dry powder ready to go.
Ready to go. I wish I had started yachting earlier, but talking numbers, I would say me starting off as a third engineer. I worked on a 90 meter. My maths isn't the best, but if you times that by 3, you'll get how much that is in feet.
Yeah, you're roughly,
3.3 to be exact. But my base salary was $4,500 a month. And I worked for a year and a half. So just imagine, and you're saving because you don't need to buy food. Of course, you want to go out and experience the place that you're in.
Right.
But we were in Miami, and Miami's expensive. It was fun for the first 3, 4, 5 months. And I was like, oh no, I've seen it all. And then you just save, and then when an opportunity comes, you're able to do it. And then with us both investing into it, we're able to get a nice boat.
Okay. Cool. So, boys and girls, having a job and being disciplined is not necessarily a bad thing. Pay your dues and you'll have the money so that you could pull the trigger on.
Yeah. Funny enough, that money was actually to go to school in Singapore, but we were denied our student visas.
Wow.
We had already applied for school, already booked the accommodations. The only thing we were waiting on was the visa, and then we were going to book the flights. But we got denied, and we canceled everything and just said, well, let's just buy the boat and make it a thing.
Let's just do this better thing.
And that's how Keep It Salty started.
Okay.
That's great. That's great. I guess the education people will also want to know how important is it? I mean, engineering is such a technical thing. I imagine that you must have certifications out the wazoo, right? So, how important is education to what you're doing?
To work in the marine field, education is absolutely important, but certification is more important than a degree in maritime, depending on how far you want to go. Like, to say be a chief engineer on a cruise ship, you probably need a degree, maybe in project management or some type of business administration. It doesn't even have to be in marine engineering, but if it is, that's even better. And the certificate is the most important thing. That's recognized all over the world by any marine organization. But did I answer your question? Sorry.
No, I just wanted to know whether because what I'm hearing, right? I had a conversation today around BTVI, the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute, which is focusing to a degree on careers in the marine sector. And one of the things that they are very proud of is they offer international certifications.
That's important. Yeah.
And I think these things are crucially important to really not only discuss but to appreciate. This is the real world, right? Here on our podcast, sipping this beautiful Glenmorangie Scotch with us is a living, breathing professional engineer who has worked around the world and is working around the world, and her statement is that it's more important to have the certifications than it is to have the degree if you want to be a working engineer.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important statement for people to hear, because to a degree, well, to an extent, we are caught up. We are caught up on the act of obtaining a degree, and I think that a degree is important. Don't get me wrong. I have one. I love my degree, but my degree is music composition. And yet here I am doing this.
I just want to clarify, I'm not downplaying a degree. I'm just saying if you work on a boat, it's not really necessary. The certification is more important. But if you want to transfer to shore side, maybe you work for like a shipping company, or being in management position at maybe a manning officer for ships, making sure people get on board and assigning people contracts and stuff like that, then you need the degree. But for working as a marine engineer or a deck officer on a ship, certification is the way to go.
I just look forward to having more conversation.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Thanks again for having me.
The pleasure was, I presume, all ours.
Indeed.
Indeed, yeah. As we are taking our final sips of the Glenmorangie on the show, I guess I should ask, since we're ending, what kind of dessert would you have with this? Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I'm feeling a little bit of pepper now, so I'm thinking ice cream, maybe to cool it down.
Okay.
A nice chocolate vanilla swirl, soft serve. That's what I'm thinking.
Pear sherbet.
Ooh.
Keep staring, bro.
That's an interesting.
This is the sound of me staring at Matthew, because who the hell says pear sherbet? What the hell?
Oh man.
Okay.
I in the last sip, I picked up just a hint of pear, and I was like, definitely go on the cold side. That's gonna be good.
Okay.
You know?
Apple pie a la mode for me.
Apple pie. That's good.
Not a bad choice at all.
And with that, folks, we are going to bring the Sunday Scotch Society for today to an end. Juliana, thank you so much for your candor and your awesomeness on our conversation. We really had a great time.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. It's fun. It was fun.
Excellent. So we'll have you back at some point once Matthew and I have had a chance to think up another 7,000 questions for you.
All right, not a problem.
So tomorrow.
All right, folks.